Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in across the continent for another very exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. If you're joining us for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world, and I'm so pleased of all the programs you could be joining us for that you're here today for our continued partnership with our friends at Digital Moment. So they do the best work of anyone in the whole world at trying to bring the technological world into classrooms like yours. So today, we're going to dive in on trash trackers using data and AI to help solve plastic pollution. But please do stay tuned on our website for so much more. We've got 2 programs coming up with them in February, 2 more in March, and we've got another program in partnership with them and our friends at E2 later today at 1:30 Eastern. So we can't get enough of Digital Moment. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. And without further ado, Herman, take us away and let's dive in. Hey.
Great, and dive in. That's a good way to present it. Hello, everybody. Really nice to be here with you today to talk about something important. We're going to talk about trash trackers. What is this about? Why are we talking about these things? Why are we bringing data? Why are we bringing AI? Lots of very interesting concepts. I'm going to be asking lots of questions in the chat. But first, I'm going to tell you we're Digital Moment. We're a nonprofit, Canadian, and we work all throughout the country with students and educators to help with digital literacy. And that's what we're doing today. My name is Herman, and we're going to get started. The first thing is that we're going to talk about trash truckers. What type of trash are we talking about? We're talking about plastic pollution. We're going to see how it's affecting our world, which you may have heard before. How can we solve this problem? What can we do? And this AI thing we keep hearing everywhere, can this help in any way? We're going to explore that today. The first thing is that what are the things that we're learning? What are we thinking? I want you to keep in mind these concepts for the day. One, if there's plastic pollution, what is it? Who sees it? Who's taking care of it? Who's putting it there? Then, can we have data help tell the story, understand what's happening? We're going to play a game to understand that. The other one is that we're going to have a challenge with big numbers. I struggle with not big numbers. Maybe you're really good at it, but we're going to see how to think and explore those big numbers. What can we do about them? And is there hope? Can AI help? The answer is yes and yes, but maybe not in the ways that we're traditionally thinking about AI. And what can we do? Can we do anything? Yes, I think we can. Let's get diving. The first one is an activity. I'm going to show you an image. There's going to be an image on the screen. And what I want you to do is to figure out how many of the items we're going to see have plastic in them. Which ones are using plastic? You can put it in the chat. Maybe you can talk about them in the classroom. Let me show you the image. We have this image here. Which one of these has plastic? And there are different levels. We're going to be plastic detectives. There are some really easy, some really tricky. Let's see. Bread, very good. We see Da Vinci Academy right away says bread. And bread, it has plastic in the packaging and the thingy. I don't know the name for the thingy that closes the bread.
Little tabby guy? Yeah,
Yes.
the sticky, whatever. What is that thing? We're gonna find out. That's our extra mystery in today's broadcast. Is what on earth is the thing that holds the bread plastic together?
Yeah, and I don't think it's the thingy, correct? It might be
probably not. Yeah, we got toothpaste. So yes, that's
toothpaste. Very good. So you're thinking along the right lines. Let me press the space bar. Obvious. The obvious one, very good. Bread. We have the Tetra Pak with the straws. We have plastic containers. Oh, I see cereal boxes. The cereal is in a bag in the box. Very good. A little bit hidden behind the box. This looks like my shampoo. Maybe it's my shampoo. Maybe that's what it is, the toothpaste and different containers, water bottles that we've heard many times. But as you're already thinking and figure things out, some of them are not so obvious. They're a little bit hidden. They're somewhere else. And these are some of the non obvious ones: the shirt, the shoes, the socks. Is there plastic in our clothing? Yes, there is plastic. There are different fibers in our clothing. Not all of them, but many of them contain plastic. The basket, the basket we use when we go shopping, those are plastic most of the time, rarely metal. Then we have different elements, such as when the light fixtures, part of them are plastics. The sign and the places where we find vegetables, fish, and other products. Now, what about the hidden one? And Jesse help us with a hidden one. Very good. Jesse, start. You found the hidden one. Plastic detective, you get a medal. Maybe a badge or a magnifying glass is when we're talking about toothpaste, not only has in the packaging, but in different places. What about fish, fruits, and vegetables? I want you to think about those. Why is there plastic in fish and in all these other places? This is a key element. Plastic doesn't biodegrade, it doesn't get absorbed and converted and used by the earth and the trees, but it gets broken down into tiny, tiny microscopic pieces, and then fishes and other animals and other living beings end up absorbing it as microplastics. So, this is plastic detectives. Plastic is in many different places. I'm sure you heard this before. So, let's reflect. Can we think of ways we can reduce plastic in the grocery store? We're not going to answer this, but I want you to consider these questions. We might answer in the big picture later on. Second one, were you surprised about some different places? Maybe you knew about all of them. Maybe some of them, like I didn't think we were going to find plastic in my shirt. What do you mean? How can I learn a little bit more? There are ways for you to Google and to explore plastic fibers in clothing. Fascinating. And the other one is that we start using a little bit less plastic. Can we? Does that help? What are the things we can do? So these are big reflections for us to have. But today we're diving into numbers, into data, into different activities. I told you a story. We saw an image that helps us understand plastic in our lives. And one of the reasons why we have so much plastic is because it's inexpensive, it's very versatile, it works really well, but it doesn't decompose. So it poses a challenge. How can we tell a big story to help everybody in the world understand the challenges that we have with plastic? Then we have graphs. We use data to tell meaningful and powerful stories. Let's do this. We're going to be now data detectives. I'm going to show you an image and you're going to try and tell me, what do you think we're trying to tell? What do you think we're trying to do? Image number one, we're going to do the same evolution we did before. What do you think is happening?
Something's getting bigger. And then there's different things too. Not only is something getting bigger, but we add a few different things as we go along. We have no idea what those things are.
We don't know what they are, but that's very good. We see something growing, and then different parts are growing at different rates. That's really good. Let me show you the second image. Oh, we got something here. We got dates. So we have different dates. So something is growing over time, starting in 1960 and it goes to 2015. Hmm. I'm sure you're guessing what this might be, but look how powerful this is. We already know that something was tiny in 1960 and in 2015 was really big. Was it a building? Was it a house? Was it a person? Was it a continent? Was it a country? What are we talking about?
I hope there's no new continents that have gotten that much bigger since 1960. It'd be very scary.
That will be
Growing.
terrifying. I
Yeah.
do agree with that. And maybe they're hidden. I don't know. And where are they? We should see them with the satellites we have. I agree with you. Now we're getting numbers that start, we have 5 million up to 40 million. Oh, that's an interesting number. For example, if I say 2015, 35 million, that were about the number of Canadians at that time in the country. Is this it? It sounds very low in 1960. Hmm, some ideas. I see some in the chat. I see in YouTube reactions, and let me know if you have some guess or something to explore there.
And trash
Plastic.
trackers.
The Da Vinci Academy. Lavi says plastic or
Or corn.
corn. Oh, that's such a good guess. Corn is such a good guess. Now, you guessed it, is plastic management in the USA between 1960 and 2015. But now we have something new. We have yellow, kind of teal, orange, and blue. What is our orange in the graph? I don't know what happened. Now we're telling a bigger story. Not only we're showing the way that it has been growing over time, but we have different topics or ideas or facts that are happening within that plastic growth. Now we have the whole thing. And it says recycle, the blue one. So some of it gets recycled, very little. There wasn't any recycling before this date. Then we get combustion for energy recovery. So it's being used to power something while it's burned. Most of it goes as garbage in landfill, but we have compost. Why don't we have any orange? Why isn't anything being composed? I want you to put something in the chat. I mentioned it before, but let me know in the chat. You can unmute yourself. Why don't we have compost in the graph for plastic?
I would wonder if it's something that only came about in the last 2 years, perhaps. Maybe it's not even on the graph and there's like a separate extra chart. I genuinely, I don't remember this from the last time, but let's see what we've got. Do we have any thoughts on that, or just doesn't exist?
But you can share that with us. You want to share that as new? What is that new part, Jesse?
Maybe. Could be. The 2025, 2020, the extra 5 years. V, if you have any thoughts too, if YouTube has any thoughts, doesn't exist at all, shouldn't even be there. Maybe it's just a terrible legend and composted doesn't exist. What do we think?
Correct. Plastic can be composted up until 2015. So that is exactly the case. Can we compost it at any point? And then we have in YouTube, compost is food and cardboard, not plastic. Great. So you guys understand the concept. Now, let's take a look at this. These numbers, 40 million, 10 million, 15 million. 15 million what? Are they dollars? Are they cookies? Are they bottles, pieces of plastic? What are they? Then we need to reflect what those things are. And we're going to think about those. What did you notice about the amount? It kept growing. So it has been growing. Where did it land? In landfills. We threw it. And we know it lasts there for a long, long time. And from the total amount, how much was recycled? Very tiny part. We need to recycle more, but we need to understand these numbers. And to understand these numbers, I'm going to share my challenge. Thank you, class, Ms. Auger. Landfills, yes, and recycle is what we need. But big numbers are really exciting. We use big numbers in astronomy, like how far is the sun from Jupiter? Those are huge numbers. We use it in many other times, but they're a little bit hard to understand. Let's think now about this data. Those we had there were tons, millions of tons. What does that mean? Let's take a look at these three pieces of information. Global numbers. We produce about 350 million tons of plastic per year. That's a lot. But How much is a ton? Is it like my house? Is it like my car? What is a ton? We'll try to figure that out. Then, of those 350 million, we throw away 82. The other ones, we're holding on to them at home. We have them in some of the devices we have, and in industry and different places, we're using them. And out of those 82, 1.7 million, they end up in the ocean. These numbers are very interesting, and I see them really large, but I struggle to understand. That's what I want to do is how can we figure out something that is relatable to a ton? First, can anybody tell me how much is a ton in
Ooh, what do we
terms of
think? Also, I've got a note just because this is literally in a book I read the other day that the spelling of ton does make a bit of a difference. Like there's a British, an American, and a
I
Canadian ton,
know.
which is very challenging. But roughly, for our international audience,
Yes.
roughly what a ton is.
Thank you so much. An
Huh.
elephant is 4 to 7 tons.
I like your frame of
Elephant.
reference. Sorry, Herman. Like in one of a joke on media is that you measure things in giraffes, like half a giraffe, a quarter of a giraffe. So the fact that your mind went straight to like, oh, here's this big animal, and that's like a great relation. Very, very nice. Well done.
It, thank you so much. It makes it so much easier. And especially, we didn't plan this, but let me. Oh, everybody's saying elephants everywhere. We like elephants. We like elephants. And let me show you the next slide. I also like elephants. Then I wanted to put this into perspective. All of these numbers I put into perspectives of elephants. So we produce about 58 million elephants. I was thinking about this number today. In Canada, we're about 40 million people. So imagine if we replace each one of us with an elephant. That means that we produce more elephants than people live in Canada. That is, I want you to see how large that number is. And maybe in whales, but I struggle more with whales. Elephants, I've seen more elephants than whales. So we can use both. I like the whales a lot, but I've seen less of them. If you see them, maybe you can relate more to those. So this is one of the numbers. The second one, per year, 82 million. So now that's 13.6 million elephants. And we can also see it as garbage trucks full of plastic. And the last one, what is going into the ocean is 283,000 elephants worth of plastic going into the ocean every year. So the whole story we've been telling, it's a little bit it's a little bit heavy, it's a little bit difficult. What can we do? This is too much, this is too hard. Can we do anything? Let's take a look. Is there hope? The answer is yes, and that's why I put this beautiful picture of the ocean cleanup. Ocean cleanup is just one of the organizations that is working on cleaning up the oceans. Not only that, they're not only doing it in place at the great garbage patch, but they're also doing it in the places where the plastic gets into the ocean, and that is the rivers. There's lots of work, not only ocean cleanup, but other organizations that are working on this, among many other things. And you understanding the problem via data empowers you and helps you promote the idea that we need to tackle this, but not maybe just in a disorganized way. And how can we save things at home? That is great, but there is more. We've been hearing this word AI, and AI can help in different ways. I want you to think about AI as two different things today. One is the one that you see in the news. Maybe you have used, maybe your parents, your teacher, to generate poems or a song or text or images or videos. That is one. There's another one that we don't mention that much, we don't see that much, that helps solve really big and interesting problems. I want you to do something for me in the chat. I'm going to show you a few options, and you're going to put in the chat the numbers that you think correspond to things that AI is helping in solving the plastic pollution? So, is AI helping with smarter waste collection? We're going to talk about this after Jesse said, yes, you can even write the number one if you agree with that. Number two, you can write one and two if you agree with both or just one of them. Does it help with smarter waste recycling? I see Da Vinci Academy writing the numbers. We're getting there. What about targeted cleanup? What does that mean? We're going to talk about all these, but I want to throw them. And then for ocean and rivers monitoring. How do we monitor those? How can AI help? All these things are intriguing, even for me, and I'm talking to you. And the fifth one is new materials and product design. So I want you to put in the chat. Jesse says 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Da Vinci Academy, they say 1 to 5. Let's see if we get something also in YouTube. I'll be looking at the chat. 3 and 4, 5. Great. I see things also popping up in the chat. Then you have all these ideas. Let's talk about them. What does smarted waste collection entail? What does this mean? How can AI help? It can help in different ways. Maybe I'm in charge of sending the trucks to collect garbage around the city. And if I use AI to plan the routes, I can find more efficient routes to find and collect that plastic and that garbage. But not only that, if we get to identify where in the world there are bigger concentrations of plastic via satellite image and AI recognition systems, then we can target those areas to do a better waste collection. So it can help. The answer is one. If you said one, you're correct. So most of you, you're correct to the first one. Let's check the second one. Smarter waste recycling. This goes in many different aspects. One of them is that when we collect plastic, it comes in many different shapes, forms, and there are many types of plastics. And then we can have AI help sort the type of plastic. But also, AI via programs like AlphaGo can help understand the structure of plastics and maybe finding ways how to break it down into more simple components so we can use it somewhere else. And that's a parallel to the composting that we mentioned. Targeted cleanup, the great garbage patch. It's very hard for boats to go and navigate the ocean to find those places. But if we have satellite image and those satellites are using AI to identify small and big pieces of plastic, we can expedite the target cleanup. Ocean and rivers monitoring. We cannot have someone at every river, at every place to monitor this 24/7, but we can have systems that collect information, interpret that information, and provide alternatives to the people that are monitoring and cleaning up these waterways. And the last one is super exciting. New materials and product design is using AI to analyze different data of what we need these products for and to find different ways to produce them so they use less plastic or they use plastic in ways that it can be retrieved and recycled easily. So the answer is all of them. And as you can see, this is not ChatGPT, this is not Gemini, this is a different type of AI that is working in different ways to support scientists, companies, environmentalists, and to protect and help the world. I want to ask one last thing of you. Of the things that we saw today and what we mentioned about AI and plastic, can you think of another way that AI can help with the plastic pollution? Put it in the chat and let us know. And that is the presentation for today. Oh, I see we have something, Jesse.
Ooh. Yeah, some really great ones to begin. And I want to note too, as people are putting things in the chat, that if you're keen on how AI can help in other things too, we've got a whole rest of a series of Digital Moment that's going to cover a few of those things. So do stay tuned for more of that. But yeah, La Vie, fantastic. Predicting bacterial enzyme that could break down plastic. So like a bioremediation sort of thing.
Yes.
Super, super cool. Great option. Oh,
Fascinating, and something that has been happening in many different ways. It has been happening as accidents
yeah.
and byproduct of other things that we're trying in Japan. Something happened at some point and we start finding bacteria. And I was mentioning AlphaGo that kind of helps us understand the structure of proteins that helps this thing. So very exciting. Thank you, Lavid. That is great.
I'm going to put the Wikipedia for AlphaGo in the chat because everybody should know AlphaGo and DeepMind 2 and like won the Nobel Prize and did. So this is the thing with AI. And before we dive in with the Q&A, I'm really excited for our classes on YouTube StreamYard to share a bunch of questions. But like, this is my favorite AI story in the world, and it does relate in how we understand molecules. So like, it took all the best scientists in the world, like 20, 30 years to figure out how like hemoglobin looked or insulin looked as a molecule. It's very complicated. And we put it into AlphaGo and it could do it in like a few hours.
Just the I know you're saying the right thing, but the sleeping the wrong thing is AlphaFold.
AlphaFold, sorry.
Yeah, AlphaGo was really exciting because it's the first time that it was able. Yeah, I know what you were saying.
There's so many alphas.
I do that all the time.
Thank you for correcting me. See, I make mistakes all the time. You just don't notice, everybody. Herman, we're going to dive in with a nice long Q&A. Thank you so much for the deep dive. And I want to stress for everyone at home, do check out digitalmoment.org. There's so much to explore and discover there. And specifically, their Digital 2030 initiative is one of the best resources on this that I've seen absolutely anywhere. So you can look for a lot of AI programs in the months and weeks and months to come. But I really can't encourage you to check it out enough. Herman, we're going to begin with a question from our friends at the Da Vinci Academy. La Vie, if you want to lead off with a question, you can unmute your mic and come on in. Take us away. Hey.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you for asking. So we live in a small town on the coast. How can we get the community to protect the ocean while we consume so much? All of our grocery stores use plastic.
Oh.
Yep. That was it. Just how can they get their town to help?
Oh, okay. I thought I lost them. So how can we get little towns? How can we get individual households to help? One important thing that we saw today is the power of stories and stories being told with data. So by you understanding that and maybe making something relatable for the rest of the town, of how many people we are, how much plastic are we using, and alternatives of what can we use instead of. And that's the key part, is how can we replace, and just by bringing awareness, you're making a change. You're making a difference, because as citizens, we have certain power to do things. That's all of us anywhere around the world. But when we're aware and we share what we know, we're taking that knowledge up to politicians that create policies that make the world better. Very important. So never underestimate the power that we have as individuals to learn, to be informed, and to share what we know. And it doesn't matter if you're in a small town or a big city.
When I was a little bit older than you, La Vie, I went to my local YMCA and I said, hey, you've got all these incandescent bulbs. Why don't you switch to LED? And they're like, oh, yeah. And then they did like a month later. So that saved a ton of power. Exploring by the seat of your pants' origin story began with Joe's class, literally writing to legislators in Australia about culling sharks. And like that made national news across Canada. So it's really amazing, especially when you're young, how much impact you can have, because I think adults often discount what other adults say, but when a kid tells them something, they're like, oh, this is really important. It's important to the next generation. So really, really fantastic. I love that message. Thank you, guys. Herman, is there something that we can do with the lunches or dinners or any sort of food that we have? You started this with going to a grocery store. Are there ways that either AI or through our own actions we can help prevent plastic pollution in the food system?
Yes, we can. And you mentioned lunches and dinners. The first one, use cutlery, use real plates. real knives, real spoons, not plastic. That way, they can be washed and we can reuse them hundreds of times and they work pretty well. We can do those tiny little things. The other one that we're going to see in another session is how to learn to love what we have, how to modify it to keep it alive longer. If I have a little toy, how can I enjoy that toy a little longer? If I have a basket where I put some things and it's plastic, how can I keep it going for a little bit longer? That way, it doesn't go end up in the landfill. And if it's struggling, one of my things, how can I reuse it? How can I find a new life for these things? So we have lots of control at the individual level. How do we choose the things that we buy? If I'm going to buy something in the supermarket and maybe it's in a glass jar versus a plastic jar and it's the same product, then why don't I consider maybe using the glass jar that is going to provide a longer life, easy to recycle, and less pollution?
It's a fantastic answer. Thank you so much, Ramon. And I want to say, while you were answering that, I looked up our question from earlier. Bread clip, bread tag, bread tab. One of those three. Thingy was not among them, which is both our answers. But now we know very definitively. So fantastic, guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Quick question. So you highlighted this great chart earlier of how plastic pollution has risen over time, how we're dealing with it. Is there a similar thing for how fast AI can work on problems like the ones that we highlighted at the end? So we highlighted a few ways in which AI could potentially make a positive difference. Is this getting faster? Is it getting better? Is it about the same? And
That's such a good question. It's getting so much faster. And one of the things that we're going to tackle in another session is that maybe you've heard about the use of electricity and water and all these things. These systems, AI systems that work in these programs, they don't use that much electricity, as much water as ChatGPT or the ones that we usually interact with for work or the classroom, and they're getting better because as they help solve things, we get more data for them to analyze, and then this information is being presented to scientists that can see different perspectives. They can start thinking about different solutions that we were not considering before. That's the beauty of these systems, is that they take a look at a problem from many different sides, from many different aspects, and we as humans then get to explore and see maybe something that wasn't clear to us or wasn't right there. The case that Jesse was saying of AlphaFold is changing drastically and dramatically the world of science, because it's doing something that used to take years and is doing it in minutes, and then it can be tested by scientists in weeks or months, and then accelerates the fields of drug discovery and also part of AI in cleaning and predicting how the weather is going to react. How is the plastic traveling in the great garbage patch? All these things are just getting faster and better. So leaning on AI for these processes is really, really important, and is one of the best examples of collaboration between AI and the system. Still, the human keeps control and knowledge of what's happening, and we use it as a tool. We still get to think, we get to interact, we get to process, we get to validate. It's a fantastic way to think about AI when we consider outside of the traditional LLMs such as ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini.
not only do I love your answer, but I really love AI and the system. I'm just going to use it as a meme in my life, so I appreciate that very, very much. Lavi, come on back in, take us away.
Hi. So my other question was, what do we know about microplastics and health?
Oh, that's a great question. And we know a lot. I'm going to tell you that I'm a little bit ignorant in this case. I know we know a lot, but not enough. So there's still lots of work to be done in understanding how is microplastics affecting our health, because there are different studies. One of the things that is key is that so far as I know, the microplastics, the main impact is that our body cannot process them. So they get accumulated in our body. And then the more we consume microplastics, then we start creating potential issues.
I love that in our programs, Herman, you end up with questions on every scientific topic in the world. This is the danger of talking about AI and how it helps things. I want to stress for Livia and for anyone interested in microplastics, plastics in general, classically, we spend a lot of September talking about this, like every single year. So we've got literally like 100 programs on plastics, marine plastics, how they impact us, all this stuff in a really detailed way there. We've actually done some seabird dissections where every time they get a seabird, they're full of plastic. So this is a macroplastic issue as opposed to microplastics, but we are in the early days of research on this. The more we learn, in general, you don't want plastics inside you. It's not something that occurs naturally in the environment. You don't want to be building them up inside you in the same way that you don't want anything inside you. The degree to which it impacts us, we're learning more every single day. So it's a great question, guys. Herman, you've gone through this whole broadcast really dissociating large language models from a lot of more targeted AI things. Are there any AI resources or organizations that you particularly like that you would highlight for us alongside those that might be on the Digital Moment website?
Yes. So I will say that the work that the DeepMind group is doing within the Google organization is very interesting. I'm very biased towards it because you mentioned AlphaGo, and within AlphaGo, they also did something called AlphaStar, and it was playing a video game, StarCraft, an old video game, very complex, and they got to explore and doing these things. So they tackle these aspects that are very interesting. I will say that is maybe one of the most representative organizations that is doing this type of thing. But also, if you start exploring weather patterns, that is very important. And if you want to check a little bit more about AI in education and how this works, the folks that make Claude at Anthropic, they have some material for education that I find very interesting, and that educators, they are very open and honest when they talk about these systems and the way that we interact with them. So that will be my main two, is DeepMind, and the other one, pedagogical approach or things for students and educators in Anthropic. I think they're very interesting.
One thing I'll say too, and I think this is just really important broad strokes for people to realize when people are talking about AI, it's really great to find an organization like Digital Moment that comes at AI from an outside perspective, because it's a field that a lot of the people that research it and understand it are working for one of the companies that are also trying to use it to sell you things. And so you should always, as just an information literacy backdrop, take with a grain of salt anything that a company that is trying to sell you something is telling you about their product and how great it is. Now, the product might be great, it might also be bad. But the way to judge that is through outside observers who also know what they're talking about. So there's a few really great AI journalists. There's some great AI books that are talking about the field in general and how it's changed and evolved over time. But generally, I would honestly like, and this is unrelated to the fact that we're doing a broadcast together and doing a program partnership together, but like Digital Moment is a great third-party group to go, okay, here's what's happening in the field, explore what they're doing and see how they're talking about it. That's the best way you can learn in an effective and unbiased way. So
thank you. And a segue to that, Jesse, is one of the sessions we'll be doing on bias, AI and bias. I think it's a really important way to understand what happens and to have that clarity of mind that you're saying. How can I be in control of this system? How am I not outsourcing, putting my brain in a jar? It's, I still want to be the one thinking. And then how do I keep that control? How do I understand what's happening?
Very, very cool. And you highlighted a lot of the things that I find to be great things in AI too. So again, we did not discuss this in advance, but like some of the same things that Herman really likes are some of the same things that I really enjoy. There's a lot about AI that there is to be liked, and I'm glad we're getting to cover that in this series quite a bit. One unfortunate thing is that we are nearing the end of the broadcast. Time flies when you're having fun, and I've got a full slate of programs, including another one with you folks in a couple hours. So before we wrap up and say farewell, is there any final message about trash trackers or using data and AI to help solve plastic pollution that you want to leave us with?
Yes. And the main idea is not to be discouraged, is understanding is really powerful for you and your community. Think about what we did today. We did plastic detectives. So be always curious. Be always mindful. Try to see beyond the obvious. That is the first message with the data detectives, the plastic detectives. Then we go into data detectives. How are you going to present this information in a way that is impactful to your friends, your family, your teachers, and some other members of the community? Data is really important, and it can be as simple as a line graph. It can be as simple as a comparison of, oh, this many people or this amount of plastic is this many elephants. Imagine that. So we're thinking about that part. And the third one is that there is hope, there are options, there are lots of really good people and organizations that are working to make this better. You can be part of it. Maybe look at citizenship science, look at ways that you can volunteer if you're really motivated, and keep learning, keep attending this type of sessions, and share it with your friends and family.
No better message than that, Herman. You're so good at the wrap-ups. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking very forward to having you and your team back over the months to come. As you know, to end every broadcast, we're going to bring in our live groups. I know a few of them have their devices off, but we will bring in Levi to join us in saying thank you and farewell. And if you're at home on YouTube and you want to scream and yell, you are more than welcome to as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a
Thank you so
wonderful
much,
day.
Herman.